2, 1.
Okay. This is a call to order of the Bridgeport Board of Education's Finance Committee. Today's date is
Facilities,
facilities. What did I say?
finance.
Finance.
That's Joe's committee.
Facilities. Facilities Committee. Today's date is Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Time is noted as being 5:34 p.m. Present are committee members, myself, John Weldon, committee member Albert Benahan. Are you on this committee, Joe?
Yes, sir.
You are, okay. And committee member Joe Scalaway. Also present are Superintendent Michael Testani, BASIC Principal Joseph Raiola, Director of Building Operations George Garcia, and Robert Hammond. I'm not sure what it is you are. I've never really been sure what to call you. But Bob Hammond from the Facilities Department is here. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the March 1st, 2021 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Benahan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, are there any discussion of the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible referral to the full board on installation of basketball court at Multicultural School. We're not going to address this item this evening. In further investigation, the basketball court, while it's on the JFK campus that was going to be renovated, is actually in the territory of 6-6 Magnet. So it's 6-6's basketball court, not ours. So they're going to handle that on their own. So we're not addressing that this evening. Item 3, discussion and possible referral to the board for approval of revised educational specification for new BASIC High School. As some of you may have seen in the paper, a business decision has been made to reapply for the grant that would pay for the construction of the school due to the timing constraints that we're starting to find ourselves within. And this is a part of that because we've relocated the campus conceptually multiple times now at this point. It made sense to just revise the ed spec accordingly to be reflective of that so that we had a current ed spec to include with the other material that's going to need to be submitted to the state to renew the application. So, Mr. Testani, you can get into what are the substantive differences between the original and this current ed spec?
Good
Yes.
afternoon.
Oh, who
Larry's
else is
with us.
here?
Larry Schilling.
Larry Schilling.
Yep.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So before Mr. Schilling gets into the ed specs, I received a letter dated April 22nd from the Office of School Construction Grants Review and Audit, Mr. Diamantis, who is the director. We're still hopeful. I mean, this is not a project that is under the current time frame dead in the water. I know Larry Schilling, Michelle, and our folks are working diligently with the school construction office to try to get a shovel in the ground by the expiration date of the 2-year time frame, which is July 23rd, 2021.
July or June?
July 23rd is
Okay.
the date. However, as a backup, Mr. Diamantis has sent a letter, and we had a meeting with him. And his recommendation as to have a security blanket is to reapply by June 30th. Some of the things that he noted in the letter was, which we had approvals along the way within the last 2 years, but now this will formalize it in the new application, the increase in the enrollment from 911 to 1250. change of the existing site of the current school to a new site. Because originally, on the ed specs, it was the current Bassick site that was going to be renovated and remodeled and added to. The new one the new ed specs will reflect in the new application, the UB site. You know, approvals from DEEP, Department of Transportation and Housing, and other agencies who we all know have an existing project that they claim could have some impact. Our assessment is it will not have any impact. It's obvious that this project would have happened whether UB sold the property or not, so we don't see any issue. We also think that we are elevating the current property 18 feet, which should help their project, not hinder it. And then they're anticipating some increased cost possibly associated with the new project as opposed to the original application.
I think we're starting to deviate from the ed spec itself
Okay.
into the project, the construction element.
Just go over where the changes came from. So
Okay.
that all being said and recommended, the ed specs were revised, and Mr. Schilling can speak to some of the differences in the new ed specs that are going to be submitted with the new application.
Yes. We've updated, again, the enrollment to the 1250 number. We had gotten a revised approval on Bassick for 1006. So we're adding the Bridgeport Military Academy to the school, and that'll get us to the 1250 number. Again, we've updated the program to meet what Mike wants in the school. We've included the athletic fields, which was never in the original ed spec. And we are in the process of getting the outside consultant to do the student population figures for 8 years. And I've already started that process. Peter has been giving me numbers for current enrollment, and we'll make the numbers work the best way with COVID-19 figures. So, and as Mike said, we will update the cost for the project to reflect the cost associated with bringing about 50,000 cubic yards of soil into the site to raise the elevation of the site. Those are the big highlights.
Is there a difference? Initially, this was to be have a manufacturing focus.
Yes.
Have there been any modifications to the curriculum end of it?
No. Again, as you'll see on the first page of the ed spec, advanced manufacturing, automotive repair, construction technology, and liberal arts are the highlight of the academic program.
And are any of those new?
Yes.
In
some respects, the construction technology, we have a plan to incorporate electrical, where we can build a relationship. We've had some preliminary discussions with the head of the electricals union and HVAC. So we really want to give kids an opportunity to learn some employable trade skills.
We're also adding carpentry to that.
Correct. So the building trades will be heavily involved, in addition to the advanced manufacturing, the current auto program that is thriving, as well as our college prep program.
what,
And obviously,
what impact? Go ahead.
and we're obviously continuing to work on the building of the aircraft.
Yes,
What,
we've created space for that to have its own room.
what is involved in getting certified instructors for those kinds of trades?
Just similar to what the VOTEC schools do in terms of employing and recruiting those types of instructors. I think the state has really begun to make, and there's also some legislation that's being introduced during this session to try to ease some of the red tape and getting folks that have an interest in coming and working in our schools across the state, and how they get certified in order to teach in these programs. So they understand that there's a huge need. There's a value here, and that began under Commissioner Cardona, now Secretary of Education, and I think that's going to continue. He clearly stated, that this idea that every child's going to go to college is not a reality. Not to say that they won't go on and be successful, but many of our kids across the state of Connecticut and our country do not have the desire at the time when they leave high school to go to college. And maybe that can change later on, but we want to give them the opportunity to go out, earn a good living, and be able to support their families.
And that's kind of my next question is, what was the basis for selecting these specific trades?
Well, number one,
Was there some sort of analysis of demand in the area? Like,
Well-
why not plumbing? Why not something else? Sheet
Well-
metal? I don't know.
well, HVAC is obviously a huge industry, growing industry. All the building trades, no matter what, there's a shortage nationwide. Plumbing takes up a lot more space, needs a lot more, there's a lot more involved to running a plumbing shop than there is in electric. So we had those conversations. So we wanted to make sure that these were equally valuable in terms of the experiences kids would get and their employability and when they left us, but also knowing that we had limited space in order to create the shops. So,
Okay.
and
So- so-
depending on how the second go around, if we do end up completing when we do complete the plane, the goal when we were, sold to participate in the project was that they would sell it and reinvest back into the second project. If that does not occur for whatever reason, I don't think it will not, but if it does, we have that space available where we can then create another shop later on. So we have some versatility in that space.
Yeah, I just, my main thing was I wanted to be sure that, these are trades that in this area, there is some sort of a demand for, and that there isn't an oversaturation of, say, HVAC techs or anything like that. Where it's great, how to do an HVAC system, but so do a lot of other people, and you can't really make a go of it.
So,
Michelle had
And Mike-
several discussions with the Fairfield County Building Trades Council.
And what did they say?
They said these were the areas where they have difficulty meeting the demand in the construction field.
Okay. And this is more of a programmatic question. Is part of this curriculum to teach these people who would go into these trades some of the more of the business end of things, like how would you put together an electrical estimate? Those kinds of things, so that they can gain an understanding of how an electrical job is put together.
to be honest with you, right now, we're just trying to get kids trained so that they can leave us, be apprentices, journeymen, and then in terms of union jobs, how to price out jobs and things like that could evolve. Obviously, into a class that can be part of the program, an elective course that could be tied
That's- yeah.
into it. But
That's,
our main goal is to get them out there and get them employed with the building trades union, with the electrical union, so they can start earning and getting their hours of apprenticeship.
Mr. Penahan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, John, thank you. What I heard what the gentleman said to me to the studies look like and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's like they want to put BMA together with BASIC together. If they decide to do that, I wonder who made that decision. You know, I just want to know what's going on. I don't know if Dr. Rayola know that, and it's look like my point of view is like a classic study one of BMA. I don't know if you guys know and about people know what BMA have inside the building, what BMA do, everything what BMA do, you know, and I'm very support that BMA stayed where it is. I don't know why when this happened that, and what I understand what the gentleman saying, Mr. Tasani give it the report, that BMA and Bassett are gonna be together. So I'm a little confused. If that's gonna happen, I don't know. I'm very disappointed with that situation. I don't know if Dr. Riola know about this situation, so I just want to give me explanation that point so I can understand, especially all the people and parents they listen and look in this, you know, a meeting.
So we've had several discussions about incorporating what they do at the Bridgeport Military Academy and incorporating that and enhancing that within the building of the new Bassick High School. There's been plenty of assessment of the rooms, the equipment, and the offerings within the school. This is going to be a more efficient and effective way in order to recruit kids into the program. Currently, the program now has pretty much remained flat since its inception. When it comes to recruitment and retention of students, has not been extremely effective. As you can see from the numbers historically going to the graduations, the numbers are low. We lose about 40 to 50% of the kids that enter from freshman year prior to them graduating. So we're really looking to incorporate the Naval ROTC and the programs there within the Bassick community. I think it'll be an enhancement in the new building. They'll have access to state-of-the-art equipment, and you know, it's not going to derail what we do or what the program does. It's only going to enhance and improve it.
So, Mr. Testani, Bassick is not going to be Bassick High School. It's going to be Bassick Dash or BMA then?
No, it's going to be Bassick High School, and there'll be a similar to Central Magnet. It's a program within the building, but it will be Bassick High School.
All this change, they're gonna be all the parents know about what's going on. BMA, they notify, they know what's going on the change that because as a board member, I'm surprised. This is the first time I know this. So
Well,
I just want
none
to
of
know
the,
that.
the way it looks, none of the current students that BMA will be part of any new Bassick High School. They'll all be graduated by the time. So at a certain point, that will be part of our recruitment pitch, is this state-of-the-art building as a program within the new Bassick High School. And I think it's going to be an exciting way to be able to market. We currently have a low enrollment of out-of-district students. About 9% of the students total currently reside outside of Bridgeport. So this has not developed into that inter-district for, I don't know what the reasons are, but it's low. So this will be an opportunity if we're going to continue to try to draw kids from the outside into this brand new building, new programs under the leadership of Dr. Rayola and his administration. If not, this will just become a Bridgeport program as it seems to be right now. And hopefully we'll be able to draw more kids with their opportunities to get into other programs with the advanced manufacturing, the electrical, the HVAC, really try to enhance the first responder component. You know, these are all things that I think under the leadership of Dr. Rayola, we can really enhance and improve.
So, Mr. Testani, they're trying to get rid of BMA or not? Or the BMA will stay there? What's going on with BMA building? What's going to be the process of BMA?
I think that's a conversation we should have once we start nearing the completion of the Bassick project. That could become like we've talked about, and I think you just mentioned a few moments ago, home to the new classical studies. There would have to be some minor adjustments to that building in order to put classical studies under one roof. There could be some other options explored as well as a board. But under utilizing it currently as BMA, it's underserving the district. We're continuing to pay a lease and having families split across town with classical studies. So just some things to consider.
Well, as a board member and as a parent, and for the record, I'm very disappointed they're trying to ready BMA. That's my point of view. As I know, the BMA have a lot of things in that building, and I know BMA very specific what everything they do, and then I know I have a lot of experience with BMA. If they're trying to they do that, move BMA to put in the basic, I'm very disappointed, and I will never approve that. I'm not happy with that. No more question, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Sokolovic.
Yes, I just want to follow up on something I just heard that kind of new. I throughout the process in the school building committee, I was aware of the movement of BMA, but I was under the impression it would be the whole school with the charter. Now, that would
The whole school would what?
The whole school would move in name, in charter, and into districts. That was the impression I was under. Maybe I should have asked a better question at that time. But I did ask if all the stuff could be moved in mass, and I was told the moving would be possible, and everything that's in BMA could move. So in my mind, the students were moving, the program was moving all en masse. Now, having it not move en masse will change it from a magnet school that draws, even though it's not drawing right now from surrounding districts, into a neighborhood school, leaving the whole entire city of Bridgeport unable to apply for a BMA because there will no longer be an interdistrict charter, because it will no longer be BMA. It'll be Bassick High School, and it can only, and as a neighborhood school, what Bassick is, because I don't see any magnet component or interdistrict component. As far as I know, they're not giving out any other interdistrict charters for now in the future. So that will definitely keep people from surrounding communities being able to go to that school as we do now. And then we need to realize that that interdistrict component will be totally gone and eliminated, unless I'm misreading this new information.
Well, we could leave it as is, and continue, like I said, as central and central magnet. We could call it within the building. We have a designated area of the building, just like at Central, where the program's going to be housed, where the customized classrooms will be moved to. The other idea, since I said we have about 9% of out-of-district students, it's not giving us the draw from out-of-district. We can make it an intra-district magnet program where kids from all over Bridgeport will continue to have the opportunity. That was always the idea, that we still wanted to make it a draw from across Bridgeport as it currently is. We don't want to shut kids out that and make it just West End, South End kids that feed into it. That wouldn't serve its purpose. But having that heavy naval ROTC component, just like we did years ago at Harding with the medical magnet program, it drew from all over the city, and it was quite successful.
Okay, understood. Still not sure how I feel about it, but
So you're saying, you're saying that as it would be planned, this would cease being an interdistrict magnet?
No, not at all. We have the option. We're trying to get the school built. How the programming within, moving it in as a separate entity within the building, but having shared resources is only going to enhance the program. Right now, we have an allocation to that school based on its enrollment. Many of the programs that our larger comprehensive high schools have, those students don't have access to. So this is a win-win. We can still call it Bridgeport Military Academy, just like we call central magnet, rather than, and then we have neighborhood central, and they function with different requirements and how students get attracted into the program and get into the program. So we can keep it the same. It's not a problem to try. If anything, that would draw more kids from out of district with that state-of-the-art building, with the state-of-the-art programs, and having the opportunity to be able to play athletics. Right now, those kids get shipped back. Athletics is not a component of that building. I've had several round tables over the last almost 2 years with kids from BMA. And as much as they like the school and the programming, a lot of the feedback is that they don't have a lot of the things that high school kids want as part of their high school experience. And we can provide that with them integrated in that building. They don't get to go to football games, as they mentioned to me. They have no school mascots in terms of with school spirit and school events. It's a specialized component, and it's very limited. So I think that's part of the lack of the draw for some kids in staying there, is that the whole high school experience isn't afforded to them. So being able to provide them with that, I think, is going to just enhance and improve the program. That's why we're thinking 1,250, because once we see that school built and they see the new building, new facilities, it's just the sky could be the limit when it comes to this. And we can be very selective in creating a criteria to get kids to come to the program that will stay in the program. Right now, we're losing half the kids that enter from freshman year to graduation. You all see it at BMA's graduation. We're graduating 40 to 45 kids. 90 enter as freshmen. So we're losing them along the way.
Okay, yeah. I still wasn't finished with my questions. Are you done, Mr. Golden?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understood what you and he were saying.
Right. Okay, thank you. As far as, I would like to definitely see the interdistrict component definitely stay, because that would leave us with only one interdistrict campus in the city, which would be Fairchild Wheeler, and also I want to
And Discovery.
And yeah, correct. I meant high school.
Oh, high school.
Right. And yeah, and I think that's important to actually keep an interdistrict component and try to build upon it rather than just toss it, especially since in the future we hope to have another interdistrict magnet school. But if we have an interdistrict magnet school and we fold it, and what does that look like to draw another interdistrict magnet school from people around the city? Okay, now my next question has to do with programming. We talked about manufacturing programming, and we didn't get much into the academics. And one of my concerns was when this first got off the ground was Hvac being a community school and drawing from the community, students being pigeonholed into a blue collar line of work. Nothing wrong with blue collar. I'm blue collar myself. I'm going to receive a nice, tidy retirement package in 10 months, thank God. And unions, as strong union jobs, they're definitely necessary and definitely an attract for some people as they were for myself. But being as it's a neighborhood school, I want to make sure that the academic portion is just as strong, if not stronger, than the manufacturing portion, because I don't want, say, my district, I'm in Central's district, and have them concentrating more on an academic focus, and then the kids that go through Hvac High School in the future are seeing the only route pushed very hard is the blue collar. I just want to make sure and reiterate that at this point.
Well, I'll let Joe,
Yeah,
I'll let Dr. Rayola also speak to this, but we're trying to, these are additional programs for students that may want the opportunity to go in that direction. We're still pushing the regular high school, college prep, as I mentioned, programming as we would. So all the programs that currently exist, anything that we can continue to build upon when it comes to pre-college courses are going to be within the school's program. This is just in addition to, not in place of. So and when you look at Central and Central Magnet, Central students are not treated any differently than the Central Magnet students, but academically, they need other things that the other kids don't need. And I think we're being able to provide that here. These are really employable skills rather than what the traditional routes have been when it comes to, you know, culinary. Not to say we don't need those programs, but they haven't been successful for a reason. I think kids start to experience these new programs and get out there into the workforce while they do internships and summer jobs and things like that. I think it's going to really, you know, build some excitement for kids that historically have dropped out.
That's where I was leaning towards this as well, Superintendent. Our college prep pathway is not going away by any means. This is just a supplemental program that is going to engage our kids further. You know, there's no secret the graduation rate is not where we want it to be. And if this helps another cluster of students get over the finish line and have the option to, with that high school diploma, go out into industry or go on to college and maybe get an associate's degree in construction management, go on, get a bachelor's degree in construction management, or follow some of those pathways, you know, this is a real viable opportunity for them. In fact, I would argue in some ways this is more powerful than just a college prep diploma, because when these guys are done, they are going to be able to go right to work and make 40, 50, 60,000 a year to start, bare minimum, plus overtime and things like that. And a lot of the unions are even paying for them to go to college afterwards. So, you know, done properly, this is an extraordinarily viable and great career path for our kids. We do take the time when a student walks in at the beginning of their high school career. We recently shifted an allocation or got a grant for an allocation for a CTE counselor. And that CTE counselor is helping to build some pathways for the kids so that each kid has their own personalized pathway, whether it's a traditional a 2-year or 4-year pathway, or maybe one of these career pathways that we're talking about. They'll have these options. So like the superintendent was saying, this is only going to enhance what we offer. I don't see it at all as negative by any means. You know, I have a little bit of a background in this, and this is a real positive opportunity for our community and for our kids. You know, with regards to the BMA being merged in, I think it's a similar conversation where BMA is only going to be enhanced by walking into BASIC and becoming part of BASIC. The opportunities the BMA kids are going to have, they would not have at BMA. For example, theater, choir, some of the other electives that they may not get to experience, even in advanced manufacturing or technical blueprint reading. Those are all skills that they'll need if they do go off into the Army or the military. I mean, there's all pathways in there that are there. So putting these two programs under one roof, it just provides the students with more opportunity and more exposure to a lot more things at a young age to make a good decision.
Okay, and final question or point, actually. As far as going to put this out again and putting it back into I'm a little concerned about running up against the NIMBYs, not in my backyard. We got some community opposition to the program, and I'm hearing things similar to what I heard back when we were trying to get the site over on the north end for our students. I'm hearing it may change the character of the neighborhood, and some such with high school that going to be too many kids in the neighborhood. It's going from a college to this and that. There's a lot of pushback on this project from various constituencies that I've seen online. And my concern is if we delay this project, that they get an additional foothold and find other ways to thwart the school. Right now, we got a bird in hand with the approvals, and we are coming up on a deadline. from what I was told from the questions I asked at the school building committee, is that a shovel in the ground doesn't mean everything dug up. It means you just have a fencing put around or some just rudimentary work begin. Now, if that's the path we take, if we just put a fence in the ground, is our funding and all that secure until completion of the new BASIC? And also, something I also read in some of the prep work was for the meeting was that resiliency was trying to lean towards having us delay our project until they're more ready with their project. And their project, if I understand, is already behind schedule, and they applied for another 1-year extension.
I'm going to make a couple of remarks about that. Resiliency, the people pursuing the resiliency project have given us conflicting information about how our project should or shouldn't be staged in comparison to the resiliency project. We've been told on one occasion that we should move ahead with our project, and we've been told on another occasion that it's preferable that we wait for the resiliency project. So I don't know what the straight answer is. I would like to hear from our architect what his feeling is about how independent these two projects are. I hear a lot of people say that, you know, in theory, the resiliency project could fall apart and never happen. In theory, it could be delayed another 5 years. We have no idea. And if we're basing what we do on what we think may or may not happen with resiliency, we're only hurting ourselves. So this ed spec is being revised, as Mr. Schilling said, to account for the building ultimately being 18 feet above sea level, making the assumption that the resiliency project is either severely delayed or never comes to fruition. So there's that aspect of it. But the other element is that we can't just, you know, start work and have it be eligible to be funded by the grant. There are some permitting issues that we have to work through. And if those permits don't materialize, we can't necessarily put a shovel in the ground and expect to be reimbursed. That's the key element here, is reimbursement. So if we don't have the appropriate permits that the school construction office is going to require, we can still, you know, start doing some things, but they're not going to pay for it. And so then the question is, who's going to pay for it? Is it the city? Is it the district? Will the city commit to doing something like that? Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But the issue of resubmitting for the grant, I view it as this is a backup plan. And what we're approving tonight gets this piece of paper, this document, signed and sealed. Once it gets to the full board, signed and sealed in advance, in preparation for if on June 30th, we're not in a position to put a shovel in the ground, the application goes out the door, and we just bought ourselves another 2 years. So I don't think anybody's saying that this is the preferred thing. They're trying to do the other way of getting a shovel in the ground. But if that just doesn't work out, our backup is submit an application on June 30th. And that's all this is. Am I misunderstanding any of this?
No, not at all. That is exactly correct.
We're not just throwing our hands up.
No,
Yeah, I understand.
This is
we're pushing. We're working with Kermit, the folk up at the building, part of Costas's team. I've had some conversations with our city officials to say, hey, it may cost a little money on the city's end. If we can start something, to satisfy this, it would give us a lot less headaches. At the same time, though, you know, as you've said, there's been some mixed messages from the folks up at housing. You know, at one hand, they say, start, go ahead. Then they say, well, you should wait. Again, I went on the record to say, I don't believe they're ever going to get this project done, this resilient project. I think it eventually will die on the vine, and we can't wait for it. Our city engineers, everyone knows and has been vocal in saying we can do this. If this was private property and it was a condominium association or a contractor building, they would move ahead and build. They wouldn't need all these sign-offs. This is all about getting the reimbursement from the grant. So we're playing along, but at some point, you know, we're going to have to be a little more aggressive, and it's still a little soon for that. But I think in the next week or two, we don't start getting some answers. We will need to push, and I'm prepared to do that.
Yes,
Thank you.
my intent within the next month will be to bring back phase 1 of the project, which is abatement and demolition. Since I need the board's sign off on that phase and get all that paperwork up to the state. So as soon as we get the sign off from DEEP on the flood management certification, then the state can do the review and tell us go to bid.
Okay. Mr. Benahan, you have your hand up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, I will talk to this to the point very clear. I understand your point, Mr. Dr. Rayola, that all the program and everything you say about BMA, it looked nice and it can hear very nice. And I understand you have to follow the protocol on Mr. Testani. But Mr. Testani, if you have all this program and then what Mr. Rayola say, BMA, they can have it. BMA can have a lot of things there. Let me give you 1 second about my niece. My niece, she graduated from BMA. Her name was Charlie Herrera. And she graduated with honor, and she was amazing. She do a lot of program. That's my niece passed away. And she was the first one of the Latina when she graduated in Texas, represent Bridgeport School BMA. So I don't understand why they say they want to change this, they want to put in the basic, and then now for June 30, we in May 3rd, last moment, oh, they throw this in 1 month. The board have to sign it like the gentleman said. I don't find this right. I'm sorry. I'm very disappointed. I'm not good with this. If they say allow another thing, they say the low enrollment. It's because Miss Eagle, they don't allow hiring more people. You know, they have staff waiting in the list. You know, and then they have kids
It's not
waiting.
true.
And can I finish?
Sorry.
Release Mr. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
then they allow like I said, and what I understand, hiring more staff. They have the list kid waiting to get to the to BMA that I know and I really know, and everybody almost the board know. It's a lot of kids waiting to go to the BMA. Now they want to change all this and everything in the last moment. Everything at the beginning was very nice. The city was very happy, and you know that Mr. Testani, we was there, and some board members. But now at the last moment they want to change this. BMA, they can stay the way it is. They have a lot of things to do because they're part of the Army, the Navy. We're talking Army. We're talking about the Navy represent our, our country. That I know they can do a lot of things for BMA. I was witness. My niece was witness. They sent him to a lot of programs. She one of the students represent Bridgeport School when she was in Texas. So I don't know. I don't understand why they want to put like a BMA. They don't have this. They want to put it in basic. All this situation. I'm sorry, but I'm disappointed that I'm not agree, and I don't want to put my name to sign that letter at all. Thank you, Mr. Chair. No more questions.
Okay. So I am going to make a motion to refer this matter to the full board. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Saying
Mr. Ben Han abstains. Okay, this item will be taken up at the next regular board meeting. Next is a review of facilities maintenance activities related to COVID.
Good evening,
Thank you,
everyone.
Dr. Riola. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Take
Yeah, you
care,
too, Larry. Okay,
Activities related to COVID. So before we got back into session during the shutdown, we had all of our air filters changed out throughout the district. Only school that wasn't done and should be done in short order was Central. The order wasn't delivered in time to get it done for that week, but we'll be scheduling that as soon as the order comes in. All of the orders that were put in by principals were delivered and accepted at the schools, and we've got plenty of stock left in the facility to pretty much get anything that they need in terms of PPE. The other thing that we did during the shutdown was we had our first training session with our head custodians. One of the things that we want to do is continue to reinforce the CDC guidelines, make sure that everyone's up to date as the landscape changes. So we had an outside vendor come in, give us best practices on disinfecting and making sure that everyone understands those best practices, along with the best practices of cleaning. So this is a little something that everyone received. They received a certificate of completion when they were done with the 3-hour session that we held over at Central. It was well received. The management team also sat through the whole entire training session to make sure that we're all on the same page. So doesn't matter what building you're in, everyone should be following the same practices. So that's pretty much what we've got going in terms of COVID. We're working now to start to drill down a specification for the assessments of all the HVAC systems throughout the district. We're probably at about 90%, figuring out what the procurement process is going to be for that, whether we've got to go to RFQ, a bid. We're working with purchasing now to figure that out. So by the time the next facilities committee rolls around, we'll have answers on that front. In terms of what we've got going in the department itself, we're at the finish line with the SCG 1050B, which is a school facility survey that the state has asked every school district to partake in. So we're finalizing the final details in that. Pretty much an assessment of the conditions of all the facilities. So that's almost complete. We've also started our landscaping operations district-wide. We awarded our bid to an outside contractor to take on the 10 largest schools and, to work alongside our team, our internal team. What our goal is to make sure that we're not just cutting and running. We want to make sure that when we get out there to do the landscape, we're looking at bushes, we're looking at shrubbery, we're cutting back. What I did notice in a lot of the schools is there's a lot of overgrowth everywhere, overgrowing vines and weeds everywhere. So we want to make sure that all the playscapes and walkways and bushes are trimmed so we don't have any issues in terms of liability. We also are working on energy conservation district-wide. What we've done, the UI has an abatement program right now. Typically, it's a 40% rebate. They've got a distressed cities program that they're running right now that has an 80% reimbursement for any activities in terms of energy conservation. So what we did was they wanted to have one school just to have something from the city of Bridgeport Board of Education. We're able to put together 5 schools, an audit of 5 schools, and currently the UI has in front of them 5 schools for complete lighting upgrades. The first calculation that we ran with these 5 schools will add up to about $180,000 a year in energy savings. Reimbursement rate of 80% of the program. The 20% is 0% interest financing on the bill, paid for through the savings that we garner from this program. Our payback on this program for the first 5 schools is under a year. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there in terms of energy conservation. So when we started seeing the numbers coming back, we started working to get another 6 schools ready just in case we have the opportunity to go back to UI sooner than later. So we've already have an assessment done of 6 additional schools. So when you think of lighting upgrades, we're going to LED, brighter schools, saving us money. It's a great program for us. We're also doing some work on HVAC, so we want to incorporate this. So I'm working with UI now. We're in discussions with some of the chiller replacements and incorporating these into these rebates. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there in terms of savings for us long term. And the goal is we didn't want to put the cart before the horse, but because of the program that they had, we wanted to get something in front of UI. The goal for us is to put a 5-year energy plan together. We want to save somewhere in the range of $500,000 to $750,000 a year, over this 5-year plan. So the team's working diligently. We're looking at every aspect of energy consumption at this point, whether it's HVAC, lighting. We're looking at everything at this point. So that's just a little bit of what we've got going. We're going to continue to drill down on the training. We know that efficiencies on the staff end of business is very important to us. Best practices, making sure that everyone's working off of the same sheet of music. So, any questions?
Okay, two quick questions. How much does this landscaping contract, how much is this contract worth?
It's roughly $2,500 a cut. For the rest of the fiscal season, I think it's going to be somewhere around $12,000.
Okay, so it's small. Okay. And for the electrical upgrades, who's doing the installations? Is that being done in-house? Is that being done by UI?
That'll be done through UI. So
they will do the work.
Yeah. So, the goal is to keep our guys focused on other efforts throughout the district in terms of maintenance and repair. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of things that need to get done. I don't want to tie up any one group, doing something of this scale at this point.
Okay. But like here, similarly, I replaced a furnace with a comparable type of program with financing through, I forget what it's called, that you pay back through your bill at like 0.001%. It's like nothing. But a contractor came in and did the work, and yep. I retained the contractor. Mm-hmm. Is this are you retaining contractors, or is UI totally handling this with their resources, or agreements they have with other contractors?
So it'll be a consultant that will hire the contractors, do the work. We'll get a 5-year labor and material warranty along with the program, but it's done through UI and a consultant.
So UI is paying the consultant.
Yes.
All we're doing is, what are we paying for, if anything?
We're just paying the financing. We're paying the loan to 20%. We'll be paying that on our bill through the savings. So it's on bill financing, the 0%.
Right. So we're going to be paying a portion of what this contractor that UI retained. We're paying back UI.
Yeah, we're
fronting the bill.
We're paying the 20% that they're not rebating.
Okay. And you're paying that to who? UI?
Yes, UI covers all. It's on the bill, and UI handles everything.
Okay.
It's a good program. We did it years ago. We did about seven schools years ago. We upgraded to T5s, which back then was a big deal. Now you're going straight to LED. It's great for us because it gives us 10 years. These products should last us 10 years, and essentially it gives us the ability to not have to worry about maintenance on these items. We've done it in the past with the T5s. We won several awards at the utility, Saver Awards. So, we know the program fairly well. Okay. And, we're confident that, we're going to have some good successes with this.
Okay. Mr. Skolnick.
I believe Mr. Benahan had his hand up first.
Okay, Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. Thank you, appreciate it. Mr. Garcia, thank you for always, be there. You made the report at least something positive, so I can be relaxed. Mr. Garcia, I know you talk about. I heard this program years back, so now you bring it back, and when you bring it this year to bring this program back, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we haven't. The city really hasn't engaged in any energy conservation efforts in the Board of Education. So, like I said, we've done this in the past. And I had started calling up folks when I first started, and I reached out to the UI, and they let me know that there was the Distressed Cities program. So instead of the 40% that we've gotten in the past, we were able to garner 80%. They've also beefed up the program because it's typically $500,000. They're going to give us up to that 850,000 mark, which I think the projects are going to fall around.
All right, and another question: do we still have one electric person and one person paint the whole school? Do we still have that? And question: if we still have that, we cannot hire in this another paint and electric person. You know what's going on? Because I know how to go about the budgets, but I just
so currently we have 4 electricians and we have 1.5 painters. So we always joke that it's a 127-year schedule to get your school painted. But what I can say is that these folks, they work their tails off daily. We try to handle as many requests as we can that come in. I will be meeting with the BA for the Painters Union coming up to see if we can get some seasonal help this summer in terms of painting. We've done it in the past where we've brought in 3 painters, unionized painters in the summer, and we start to, address schools' needs, whether it's gymnasiums, whether it's classrooms, hallways. I feel it's important, the aesthetics of the building. We want folks to pull up to the school and say, wow, they maintain the school well, walk in the building and feel comfortable and just focus on education. That's our goal here at Facilities.
All right. When you say 1.5, can you explain me what does mean to paint a person 1.5, please?
Yeah, we have a part-time painter.
Oh, okay. Now, okay.
But the gentleman works like a full-timer.
All right. No, I believe you. Okay. All right. No more question, Mr. Chair, for now.
Okay, Mr. Galvin.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, a lot of this work being done is it seems like very long-term impact of these projects, which would normally be considered capital projects, correct? And I'm wondering how this is going to be, how these programs and upgrades are going to be funded. Will it be city state share? Will we apply for that, or will it be through COVID relief funding, or will it fall under the operating budget?
Well, this one is a rebate program, right? So 80% of it, the UI is going to pick up the cost. The 20% is paid back through the savings, and that will be on bill at 0%. So there's no money, there's no CapEx out of our pocket. It's going to be paid through on the savings.
Yeah,
so
that's my question. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just brief while you're on that point. I asked the question particularly because on our side, for you would be the city of Bridgeport. For our side, for us would be the Bridgeport Board of Education, which one fund comes from the entire city and one fund comes entirely from the kids' budget. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to make that clarification.
Yeah. So, like I said, the 20% on bill financing, the ROI is less than a year on these buildings because of the amount of energy we'll be saving. So, the potential here is tremendous. And with a 5-year plan, there's a lot of gains that we can make. And currently we're just looking at lighting, and now that we're turning the corner on some of the schools the second batch of schools that we audited, we've got a little bit of time. We're looking at HVAC also. So you can do a comprehensive program with the utility that, you can save a lot more money. But once again, we didn't want to put the cart before the horse and go ahead and start these lighting upgrades before a 5-year plan. But because of this incentive, it made sense for us, to get something going, brighten up these schools, and take advantage of the 80%.
Maybe Superintendent Testani, can you address actually where the money to pay for these programs will be coming from?
Well, I think Mr. Garcia mentioned it. It's in the billing. So we're not coming out of pocket anything. So it's not coming from any budget. It's being built into the bill. So over time, it's cost neutral. And then we begin to see real savings after we recoup through the billing process. So
Mike,
so we're going to see lower energy bills coming out of our budget, our Board of Ed side, and that will be then reinvested to pay off the debt. So it's win-win.
Right, and as far as any HVAC upgrades or what have you, because those
that's
get
been-
cost.
Yeah, there's some of that is all built in to the money we're gonna receive from the federal government. Because one of the parameters are air filtration and HVAC, so, need to spend a percentage of that money in those areas, and this is the perfect opportunity now where it won't be on our dime, it'll be on the federal government.
Right. Yeah, and that's great. I just want to ensure that it's not coming out of the operating costs, things that would normally be coming out of
Absolutely
the
not.
capital plan. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely not. Our children have taken enough hits within the classroom. We're gonna make sure that we start investing back in classrooms. And, a lot of the other things, we'll figure out a way. Again, this is significant dollars that have been given to us for these upgrades from the federal government. We'll utilize them. Mr. Garcia has found some creative money. He's also found some old capital money that obviously the city wasn't going to jump up and down to say, hey, you had this money, you didn't spend it. So he's tapping into some dollars there that have been sitting around for a long time. So we're excited about being able to upgrade facilities and create an environment where kids are happy to come to school and families are proud of the schools that they send their kids to.
Thank you. And I apologize, Mr. Garcia, if I got a little territorial with our children's dollars, but I tend
No,
to.
I'm with you. Trust me, I'm turning over every stone to make sure we find every dollar that we can and reinvest into these buildings.
Thank you so much.
And the only thing that I would, as you go forward with these kinds of programs, I encountered it already once, and we had to put the brakes on it, is that if it gets to a point where the district is retaining the contractor, you want to make sure that you bid that out properly, because now that becomes public work.
Yep.
Even though somebody else is paying for it, in the view of the public, it's a BOE job. So if it's something that we're controlling the contractor, we need to make sure we bid that out. In this scenario, it's the UI. They have whatever means and methods they're using. That's out of our hands. So as each of these kinds of projects occur, be mindful of that.
Absolutely.
For the depending circumstances.
Yeah, and as you know, the negotiations evolve. If we do get to a point we need to RFQ, bid, what have you, we'll be prepared to do that. The team. The good thing is that I'm blessed with a great team here at facilities. So any adjustments we need to make, we're prepared.
Okay. You have your hand up, Mr. Benahan.
Yes.
Note for the record, Dr. Fabian is here. We have another meeting after this. So Dr. Fabian, this is a facilities committee meeting.
Should I exit and go?
No, you can be here. I'm just letting you know this is what you're watching.
No, is it all gonna be right here though, or?
No, it's a separate event. So you'll have to come out of this and go into that.
I'll do that.
Okay.
It's supposed to be at 6:30, right? Or am I
Yes,
early?
we're running a little over.
Yeah.
Feel free to stay and watch, or if you want to kick over. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Mr. Garcia. I don't know, Mr. Garcia. I hope you can answer me. While we can get a seasonal worker for the city doing like a job fair. So for the BOE, then I cut trees. We don't have to pay $12,000. We're going, have the gym free so people they can come, to apply for it. And second, the third is how everything's going with the school, with the supplies. All schools have everything correct. Nobody need nothing extra. The budget is specific. You're not additional. You're not spending more money for the supplies. So everything you have now is covering all the schools.
I think right now fiscally we're stable. We forecasted out for the rest of the season. We feel comfortable where we are with our budget. We feel good with our projections out for utilities. Those look rock solid at this point. We're working closely with Marlene and Liz Maurer to make sure that everything is lined up the way it needs to be in terms of supplies and equipment and everything out into the field. As long as they tell us what they need, our inventory is where we need it to be at this point. We're making sure that we're staying ahead of the game. We want to be proactive, not reactive. So, at this point, the team is doing a good job of keeping us very, very stable.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. I appreciate your
And, the final thing in terms of seasonals.
Oh yeah.
We everyone is experiencing a very difficult time to find new hires, especially seasonals, due to the stimulus program. You know, this morning I joined Reverend Gaston and Craig Nadrizny, the Director of Public Facilities. You know, they spoke over at Fairchild Wheeler about the potential of high school students working for the city as seasonals this upcoming season. And you know, everyone's struggling to find bodies to fill spots.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Garcia, and I appreciate, you know, you especially you back, and I know everything's gonna be the way everybody wants. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. No more question, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, just to add to that, because I don't want anybody to think we've set up these recruitments for seasonals at every high school over the next week, so that Mr. Nadrizny, Reverend Gaston, and George are going over. Any high school senior who's graduating has an opportunity at the several you know, layers of seasonal work with the possibility of permanent work if things work out. So we're trying to keep it here, give our kids a summer job and the possibility at a full-time job. We started at Fairchild today. They'll be at all the high schools the remainder of the week, just to be clear on that.
All right. Your motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Time is noted as 6:39. Have a good night, George.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
everyone.
Next time.
God bless you all.
Okay.